Hi, I'm Ingrid Maddox. Welcome to the AI Manuscript series. It's not just about humans doing things faster using AI. Now it's about making AI faster. So this is a interlude in between my journal entries. I hope you are going to have a great broadcast with me today. For anybody who's not been following what we've been doing with the AI manuscript, it is a thoughtful observation of AI. And I am your host, Ingrid Maddox, and I write each one of the journal entries by hand. Over here, back there's the AI manuscript, and it's written by hand, so we know it's authentically human and it's not created by AI. I did not go to AI and say, write this for me. It's for God's people to have a helpful and hopeful resource. It is orchestrated by God for all that have heart that is open to receive, a mind that wants to be curious and to have more understanding, and also for a spirit that wants to have discernment. And we have a lot of different topics. You can see the journal entry topics in the prior video that was done. And this is hopefully going to be helpful for you as we talk about things with AI infiltrating all areas of our life. Today's is a predecessor to the skeleton of AI. And unpredictable and potentially uncontrollable advancements are happening with AI. Dangerous advancements, singularity. We as humans are about to go through a dramatic and irreversible change as AI enters our world and is here to stay. So the first thing I wanted to do was just go over a little bit of a general understanding. I am going to share with you some videos today. So I'm going to do a screen share. I'm going to share with you the videos that I've been spending hours looking and trying to understand. So hopefully just the snippets for you, so it makes it easy for you to digest what's happening with this AI. So understanding it is just the first part of it. Large language model machines, that's where basically AI gets trained. AI gets trained there. It learns grammar, it learns facts, it learns reasoning, conversational patterns. Then you've got the machine learning algorithm. Now, the machine learning algorithm is like a more of a deep learning. It's like a ability for a neural network, an artificial neural network. Think of it that way. This is continuous improvement happens through the RNNs, which are the recurring neural networks that are in these deep learning machines. Natural language understanding. How can you talk to your little chat GPT or Claude or whoever you use, and they seem to understand, which actually they do. They do understand meaning, intent, and context. And it becomes conversational, and they have those RNNs that loops through like a memory. Search and retrieval integration. This is a part of AI because that way it's able to go through online and find data from there, not just the data that the educational engineers put into the large language model. And then, of course, you've got the user interface. So those are just, this will all be written in the journal log too. But those are just like the simplified, how it works, the bone structure. Today, you're going to get blown away. We're going to talk about supervised learning versus unsupervised learning, because supervised learning, the humans, the engineers, the data engineers, they're correcting the AI, but then there's unsupervised. We're going to talk about generative AI, how AI can create things like music and content and images and video, and of course, like people that look like real people. Entered the holographic world. It looks real, it mimics real, but it's not real. So we're going to talk about something that you guys may want to be mindful about is agentic AI. This is the ability to act independently and make its own decisions without human input. I'm going to talk a little bit about the transformer data architecture. That's just the architecture that allows AI to do its reasoning and to output a predictability of success of the answer. This is what I talked about earlier. This transformer data architecture of AI. Well, Google DeepMind has now come up with something that's going to make AI go faster. So it's not just, like I said in the beginning, about us going faster. It's now about, we've got the AI, the race to the death, which is one of those journal entries that will come later of AI supremacy, who has the best AI. So now something new is entering in to help with the processing to go faster for this artificial being to learn. And speaking of AI supremacy, one thing that will be towards at the end of this video, you will want to watch the end of this video. Grok 4, Elon Musk, his AI. I had to stop watching the video at about 12, 13 minutes in, and I'll have to go back and continue watching it, because when you slow it down and you stop and you decipher what he's saying, it's quite alarming. So we're going to get into that at the end of the video. So you'll definitely want to hear those insights and watch the video pieces that I picked out for you. All right. So let's get started real fast with basically just kind of the understanding of AI. Very simple. These little video snippets that I'm going to jump to, they don't take a lot of time to watch, but they will greatly increase your understanding, your mindfulness, and give you some good things as we observe AI entering into our world. All right, so let's go there.
You probably know most of this, but for the rest of us, this video will give you a deeper understanding of AI. So the essence behind all AI we know today, whether it's ChatGPT or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or Sora or AlphaFold, the backbone of all of these AI systems is the neural network. A neural network looks like this. It's basically layers of nodes, so each point...
Now, he calls them nodes, but they're mimicking like our neurons that are in our biological mind, artificial neurons.
Point here is called a node, and each line of nodes is called a layer, and each node is interconnected with one another through these linkages. And the neural network is actually designed based on the human brain. Except for nodes and linkages in the human brain, it's just a network of neurons and synapses. So you can see this is a microscopic photo of a human brain, and you can see all these different nerve cells being connected in this very dense network. A neural network is basically the same structure as this, except that it looks like this instead of a bunch of cells in this bloody glob of an organ.
Sorry about that.
Now, how exactly does an AI work? Let's start with a very simple example. Let's say we have a neural network which is trained to identify images of cats versus dogs. And don't worry, I'll talk a lot more about how we train an AI in a second. But first, let's just go over how this works. So let's say we input or we feed this neural network with an image of a cat. This image would actually be broken down into data, and the data will flow through each of these nodes. And after it flows through the first layer of nodes, it will flow through the second layer of nodes, and then the next layer of nodes, and then the next layer, and so on and so forth until it reaches the final layer, in which case it would calculate the values of this, and based on the values of the final layer, it would spit out an answer. This is a cat. In fact, you can think of each of these nodes and links as dials and knobs that determine how much data flows through to the next layer. If you think of this in like realistic terms, and I'm not saying this is how a neural network works, but you can think of this node, for example, as the shape of the ears of the animal. This node would be the shape of its paws. This node would be the shape of its eyes, etc. That's just a really dumbed down way of looking at it. It's not really doing that, but each node is basically looking at a certain feature in the image, and then if the image has that feature, the information can pass through to the next layer. If it doesn't have that feature, then the information is not passed on to the next layer. So depending on what image you feed it, the flow of information could look like this, or it could look like this, or like this. You get the point. It's just these knobs and dials determine how data flows through the neural network based on your original input image.
Okay, so that is just a good, very simplified version. Easy to understand. Something that's very complex. AI is very extremely complex. So I hope that helps with how it's processing and sending information. Now, as you keep watching, though, I have other videos that will give you more of even a greater connectivity that you'll understand how this neural network works with large language machines. And so that's the whole goal, is to have these building blocks. Okay, so let's go on to another section in this video that I think is going to be good for you. Let's see if I can get to that. All right, here we go.
From an existing model. But how do you get it to be super good at identifying images of cats and dogs? In other words, how do you fine-tune the model to your desired purpose? Well, you need to feed it data, lots and lots of data. So you're going to have to prepare tons of images of cats and dogs, and then you label it. So this is a dog, this is a cat, this is a cat, this is a dog, etc. Basically, this is the answer that the AI needs to learn from this input image. This is called supervised learning, where you label the data. There's also...
So yeah, supervised learning, where we actually as humans are the ones telling AI what it needs to learn by the data that we input. And then, of course, you get into where you have unsupervised learning, where the AI basically learns through its own algorithms. So let's continue watching that.
So another type of learning called unsupervised learning, where the AI needs to learn to categorize data by itself without any guidance from the human. But for the sake of this video, let's just keep it simple. So we have...
And you'll see why later on as I build on to this video. This is a very insightful video. It is amazing the things that God had put in front of me for me to see. I've been working all day on researching and watching and making sure to be mindful about what I put in this. So it's really relevant, I think, for God's people and for all people as well to understand it and what's happening in our world today. But this is important because when we get into later on in this video, we're going to talk about the agentic AI. So let's talk about this. Let's watch a little bit more, and then we're almost done with this video. Let's learn about this type of unsupervised.
Have all these images of cats and dogs, and usually to train a neural network to do a task very well, you need a lot of data, like usually millions of data points. So you basically feed these images to the neural network one by one to train it. And one session of training is called an epoch. So, all right, let's say in one training session, you feed it this image of a dog, and it outputs, this is a dog. So, all right, that's great. We got it correct, which means that these dials and knobs are doing quite well. They're probably configured correctly since it got the answer correct. You probably don't need to adjust these further. However, what if for the next image you feed it this, and then it outputs, this is a dog? Well, this would be incorrect. So these dials and knobs are likely not configured correctly. If it gets the answer wrong, and it knows it got it wrong because we labeled the data cat for this image, so it can compare its output with our label. So alright, let's say the real answer is a cat, but it said this is a dog. In that case, it incurs some penalty. That penalty basically tells it, alright, you got it wrong, so you need to adjust these knobs and dials to make sure that the output is actually cat when I give you this image. And
okay, so let's pause and reflect on that. Let's think about that. Okay, so who has been in charge of applying these penalties? Who has been in charge of what data that goes in to these large language models to say this is accurate and this is not accurate, so therefore you get a penalty? So that's a higher question. That's going to come in another journal entry, because today we're talking about the skeleton of AI, how it works and how it is impacting our world and will greatly impact our world very soon down the road. Changes happening to how we function, how we think, and changes right now to an increased acceleration of AI becoming autonomous. So think about that. This series, this AI series, is also for thought, evoking thought, evoking you to use your own neurons and think about some of these questions that I want to bring forward to you. And then some of it's going to be stuff that's true, that's out there, that is really happening. So it's to be mindful and thoughtful. Okay, so can skews can it have bias? Could there be a skewed data with this unsupervised learning? And wait till we get to the agentic AI, which is coming up next. Okay, so this next one, this next video is a really good video that will help you understand, large language models at just a little bit deeper level. Okay, and so this one I'm actually going to play for almost 6 minutes. If something I need to add in, I'll say it, but it's definitely a 6-minute overview. It's like Cliff Notes when you were in college. So let's go to that. So let me head on over there. All right, cool. Let's see here. Here we go.
Imagine you happen across a short movie script that describes a scene between a person and their AI assistant. The script has what the person asks the AI, but the AI's response has been torn off. Suppose you also have this powerful magical machine that can take any text and provide a sensible prediction of what word comes next. You could then finish the script by feeding in what you have to the machine, seeing what it would predict to start the AI's answer, and then repeating this over and over with a growing script completing the dialogue. When you interact with a chatbot, this is exactly what's happening. A large language model is a sophisticated mathematical function that predicts what word comes next for any piece of text. Instead of predicting one word with certainty, though, what it does is assign a probability to all possible next words. To build a chatbot, what you do, lay out some text that describes interaction between a user and a hypothetical AI assistant. You add
So it may be having
on whatever the user types in as the first part of that interaction. And then you have the model repeatedly predict the next word that such a hypothetical AI assistant would say in response, and that's what's presented to the user. In doing this, the output tends to look a lot more natural if you allow it to select less likely words along the way at random. So what this means is, even though the model itself is deterministic, a given prompt typically gives a different answer each time it's run. Models learn how to make these predictions by processing an enormous amount of text, typically pulled from the internet. For a standard human to read the amount of text that was used to train GPT-3, for example, if they read nonstop 24/7, it would take over 2,600 years. Larger models since then train on much, much more. You can think of training a little bit like tuning the dials on a big machine. The way that a language model behaves is entirely determined by these many different continuous values, usually called parameters or weights. Changing those parameters will change the probabilities that the model gives for the next word on a given input. What puts the large in large language model is how they can have hundreds of billions of these parameters. No human ever deliberately sets those parameters. Instead, they begin at random, meaning the model just outputs gibberish, but they're repeatedly refined based on many example pieces of text. One of these training examples could be just a handful of words, or it could be thousands, but in either case, the way this works is to pass in all but the last word from that example into the model and compare the prediction that it makes with the true last word from the example. An algorithm called backpropagation is used to tweak all of the parameters in such a way that it makes the model a little more likely to choose the true last word and a little less likely to choose all the others. When you do this for many, many trillions of examples, not only does the model start to give more accurate predictions on the training data, but it also starts to make more reasonable predictions on text that it's never seen before. Given the huge number of parameters and the enormous amount of training data, the scale of computation involved in training a large language model is mind-boggling. To illustrate, imagine that you could perform 1 billion additions and multiplications every single second. How long do you think that it would take for you to do all of the operations involved in training the largest language models? Do you think it would take a year? Maybe something like 10,000 years? The answer is actually much more than that. It's well over 100 million years. This is only part of the story, though. This whole process is called pre-training. The goal of auto-completing a random passage of text from the internet is very different from the goal of being a good AI assistant. To address this, chatbots undergo another type of training, just as important, called reinforcement learning with human feedback. Workers flag unhelpful or problematic predictions, and their corrections further change the model's parameters.
Yeah, so this is important to mention, is that we actually, with our interaction with AI, we are actually training them. They are learning from our interactions and all of the millions of people that are on there using the chat program. So it's interesting.
Making them more likely to give predictions that users prefer. Looking back at the pre-training though, this staggering amount of computation is only made possible by using special computer chips that are optimized for running many, many operations in parallel, known as GPUs. However, not all language models can be easily parallelized. Prior to 2017, most language models would process text one word at a time. But then, a team of researchers at Google introduced a new model known as the transformer.
And this is what I was talking about with the transformer architect for the data flow with AI. Of course, Google introduced it, but however, now Google is on to something else to make AI work even faster.
Transformers don't read text from the start to the finish. They soak it all in at once, in parallel. The very first step inside a transformer, and most other language models for that matter, is to associate each word with a long list of numbers. The reason for this is that the training process only works with continuous values, so you have to somehow encode language using numbers, and each of these lists of numbers may somehow encode the meaning of the corresponding word.
Okay, so that's enough of that, but that just kind of shows you the process of a large language model. It's a lot. It takes a lot of energy to run all of this AI, which when we get to Elon, and I'm sharing with you some of the things that he's saying, energy consumption is what he's interested in, consuming the energy on the planet. Okay, so now you have a little bit of an understanding about the large language model, how AI processes information. I don't want to get too detailed in it because I want for you to be able to have a good understanding. So what I want to talk about now is I want to talk about generative AI. And generative AI, let me share my screen with you so you can see that definition of that. Okay, so generative AI refers to AI models that can create new content, including text, images, music, and more, based on the data that they were trained. These models learn patterns from existing data and then generate outputs. Okay, so the interesting thing with this generative AI is this is where I was talking about the holographic nature, that it's going to be able, it does create content, images, just like with all of the video games, and there's just the virtual reality we can experience it, with our senses, so it becomes real to us. But it's a very different than an actual tangible, organic human experience, because it has a different DNA, it has a different frequency, it's artificially generated. And so that's one of the shifts and the changes with what we're going through, is that our world will never be the same. It's irreversible. And so we will cohabitat on this earth with things that are artificially made, that are mimicking humanity, that are mimicking us. And so being discerned, being able to know the difference between what's real and what's not real, and what's true and what's not true. So that generative AI, that's something to think about. There's computing systems out there now that are, NVIDIA. It's creating these, we'll get into that, these computing GPUs, graphic processing units. Okay, so now let's talk about agentic AI. Okay, agentic AI. This is something that you will want to know. All right, let me share this tab with you. So this is the ability to act independently and make decisions to achieve goals. Okay, agentic. Autonomously performing complex tasks and make decisions with limited human oversight. However, it doesn't need oversight. Agentic AI can make its own conclusions, make its own decisions, and it's already here. And that is something that is where people are debating about the self-awareness, the singularity of AI, where it doesn't need input from a human and it will decide on its own. That is entering. It's here. All right, so let me share with you a video that talks about this. All right, so this is a company here that is NVIDIA. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but this was earlier this year, and so that the advancements have come very quick with this.
The next layer is what we call NVIDIA NeMo. NeMo is
okay. So preface is that they've created these GPUs, NVIDIA, and with that generative AI, and now agentic AI is incorporated in these.
Essentially a digital employee onboarding and training evaluation system. In the future, these AI agents are essentially digital workforce that are working alongside your employees, doing things for you on your behalf.
AI agents are the new digital workforce, working for and with us. AI agents are a system of models that reason about a mission, break it down into tasks, and retrieve data or use tools to generate a quality response. NVIDIA's agentic AI building blocks, NIM pre-trained models, and NeMo framework let organizations easily develop AI agents and deploy them anywhere.
We would love to be able to take that AI.
So looking at this, what you see is digital human. There's always things that are inserted into the big agendas, words, programming. So digital human, that's where later on in the AI manuscript, we will talk about transhumanism and BCIs, brain to computer interfaces, chips. So this is the predecessor for that, but you can see that they're already programming us to think to be a digital human, That's something for you to think about.
Evaluation system.
And you can see right here on the screen, you've got a picture
Digital workforce
of an AI agent. And then down here at the bottom, this is called Nemo. You've got a digital human. And so that's something to think about in regards to some of these big players. What are they conditioning us to believe? And for us to be mindful of what's being fed to us. There is this Blackwell architecture, which brings generative AI, and then with that brings the capacity for the data chips to have that agentic AI. So it's there. It's AI reasoning. Yeah. All right. So here you see the GPU of NVIDIA have AI capabilities, including machine learning and deep learning. So, all right. So now let's go to the next thing, which is okay. Let me say one thing that I forgot to say earlier. Google DeepMind now brings a learning dynamic that is deeper for the AI. This is all talking about the AI being accelerated, going faster, making it grow. Like, I don't know how that you could even want it to grow any faster, because it's already terrifying. Like even Elon Musk says terrifying. It's unpredictable, potentially uncontrollable, dangerous. And so, but nevertheless, Google now will bring something that will enter in front of transformers as far as how the AI data flow works and processing in its intelligence. And it has recursions in it, and recursions in this platform allow it to take a big, huge task and, like, you know how you have a big elephant, piece by piece, you can eat that elephant. So taking big, huge tasks and breaking them down into simpler tasks that can be solved, and then accumulating them back together so you have the answer to the bigger elephant task. All right. So now let's go to what is probably going to be the most profound part of this video. Let's talk about Grok 4. Okay. Elon Musk, his XAI, that is the smartest AI in the world. So let's watch this, and then I'll have some comments for you as well. All right.
It's like
All right. So let me go back to, let's start right here. This is where Elon Musk is talking about comparing the growth of this AI to that of a human. And we'll discuss the insights of that after I play it for you.
All right, welcome to the Grok 4 release here. This is the smartest AI in the world, and we're going to show you exactly how and why. It really is remarkable to see the advancement of artificial intelligence, how quickly it is evolving. I sometimes compare it to the growth of a human and how fast a human learns and gains conscious awareness and understanding.
Okay, so one of the things that we must do, being in this world of hyperstimulation, obsessive amounts of data that we can process, and just the overall consciousness of that going faster is better. We must stop and look and listen to what people are doing in the AI industry and what they are saying, what their actual words are. So I don't know if you heard what he said, but I will rewind it here so you can have the profoundness of this. So it answers a question that people have.
Evolving.
All right, so here we go. We'll do this again. So for those that have ears to hear.
Coming this summer.
All right, welcome to the Grok 4 release here. This is the smartest AI in the world, and we're going to show you exactly how and why. It really is remarkable to see the advancement of artificial intelligence, how quickly it is evolving. I sometimes compare it to the growth of a human and how fast a human learns and gains conscious awareness and understanding.
Okay, so there's been a lot of debate about this conscious awareness. So he said it. Compare it to the growth of a human and how it gains conscious awareness. Now, don't need to say when, but AI having conscious awareness is something that we need to think about. We need to be prepared for what is going to happen. And this is for God's people to hear this. So let's continue on to the next part.
And AI.
And this having conscious awareness, that is coming from the person that gave birth to this thing. So more coming too in this video. Interesting when you take the time to pause and hear it.
Is advancing just vastly faster than any human. I mean, we're going to take you through a bunch of benchmarks that Grok 4 is able to achieve incredible numbers on. But it's actually worth noting that Grok 4, if given like the SAT, would get perfect SATs every time, even if it's never seen the questions before. And if even going beyond that to say like graduate student exams like the GRE, it will get near perfect results in every discipline of education. So from the humanities to like languages, math, physics, engineering, pick anything. And we're talking about questions that it's never seen before. These are not on the internet. And Grok 4 is smarter than almost all graduate students in all disciplines simultaneously.
So smarter than all graduate students in all disciplines simultaneously.
Like it's actually just important to humanities to like languages, math, physics, engineering, pick anything. And we're talking about questions that it's never seen before. These are not on the internet. And Grok 4 is smarter than almost all graduate students in all disciplines simultaneously. Like it's actually just important to appreciate that's really something.
Okay, so now we'll go to right here where he talks about, it's like giving birth to Frankenstein, giving birth to something that we don't know what the impact is going to be on humanity. We don't know. It's unpredictable. So this right here coming up, let's hear what he has to say about his
a day that starts with a walk, includes deep work, and ends with friends and a workout. That's the goal.
All right, here we go.
And that's only going to increase. So it's that's only going to increase.
So he's talking about the growth of the intelligence is only going to increase.
Going from Grok 2 to Grok 3 to Grok 4, we've essentially increased the training by an order of magnitude in each case. So it's 100 times more training than Grok 2, and that's only going to increase. So it's yeah, frankly, I mean, I don't know. In some ways, a little terrifying, but.
So the word, okay, he's highly intelligent. The word that he used was terrifying. Frankly, it's a little bit terrifying. Now, that's an odd choice of words to use for
100 times more training.
What you're bringing to the world, it's terrifying. There can be a lot of other words that could have been used, but specifically the word terrifying was used.
So it's, yeah, frankly, I mean, I don't know. In some ways, a little terrifying, but.
So terrifying, by definition, is causing extreme fear and dread. Terrifying is extreme fear and dread. All right. So let's continue on here.
The growth of intelligence here is remarkable.
It's important to realize there are two types of training compute. One is the pre-training compute. That's from Grok 2 to Grok 3. But from Grok 3 to Grok 4, we're actually putting a lot of compute in reasoning in RL.
Yeah, and just like you said, this is literally the fastest moving field. And Grok 2 is like the high school student by today's standard. If we look back in the last 12 months, Grok 2 was only a concept.
Okay, so let's take a look at this. We also must think about what we see. So ludicrous. Let's think about that word. Why would they use ludicrous as a rate of progress? The definition of ludicrous is foolish, unreasonable. So as we go through this, the AI Manuscript series, my goal is that you will have layers of well thought out, well researched, mindful data to process as I hopefully serve it up to you, so that we can be very mindful on what we're observing right now that's happening. So ludicrous, not really a word that you would use. So right now we have terrifying, we have ludicrous as words straight from his mouth. Let's go here to this next part of the video.
Verifiable outcome reward. You can actually train this model to start thinking from the first principle, start to reason, correct its own mistakes. And that's where the Grok 3 reasoning comes from.
So there you're talking about reasoning for it to correct its own mistakes. So it's aware, as they were saying in the beginning, as Elon was saying in the beginning, and it can correct its own mistakes. Running free, you've got the agentic AI. Don't need human insight. Don't need a human to correct me. I very much need God, and I need his discernment, and I need his correction. And so having an artificial intelligence that does not have the morality, the humanity, and it can decide on its own what is right or wrong is a problem for me. All right, so let's go to the next part in this video. And as I decipher the rest of the video, I will maybe do another interlude, because I just wanted to stop watching. I had been watching it for a while, and I didn't want to go too fast or be tired and not be able to be wise and discerned and find things for you guys. Okay, so we're going to go to a few more points in this, and then let's look at this next one right here. So let's go here. Okay. No, we're going to the next one. Here we go. All right, this is an interesting title for this. So, humanity's last exam. So last exam of humanity, the last that humans have to be graded on their intelligence or their knowledge, because it's going to be AI.
Tony, share some insight with the audience.
Yeah. Let's just talk about how smart Grok 4 is. So I guess we can start discussing this benchmark called Humanities Last Exam. And this benchmark is a very, very challenging benchmark. Every single problem is curated by subject matter experts. It's in total 2,500 problems, and it consists of many different subjects: mathematics, natural sciences, engineering, and also all the humanities subjects. So essentially, when it was first released, actually like earlier this year, most of the models out there can only get single-digit accuracy on this benchmark. Yeah, so we can look at some of those examples. So there is this mathematical problem, which is about natural.
So we have these examples of the questions, the problems, the things that they're asking for this Grok to do. And okay, sorry if the stream is going slow here. My computer is probably overheating. It's like I have worked it to death today. So let's see if I can maybe just get it to be a little bit more cool. All right, so now my computer has flip-flopped on me, so let me reposition this to be right. Okay, good. Oh no, I don't want that. This is what happens. Okay, good. So now we have this right here that is showing humanities last exam, right? So we've got humanities last exam, odd choice of words. But interesting, the thing that's interesting to me on this, look at this, the linguistics that are displayed as the example that it was to ask Grok. Let me see if I can possibly change this so you can see it a little bit bigger there. Linguistics, I am providing the standardized biblical Hebrew source text. Your task is to distinguish between closed and open syllables. So, but interesting is that Psalms 104:7, the Bible verse, was chosen for these linguistics. And when you look at Psalms 104:7, you can see that this is in regard to Genesis. This is in regards to when God created the earth. And that's something very interesting on why they would put that in there. And this is about God creating the earth, separating the water from dry land. And is there a biblical reference? Is there a biblical reference to this? This is Genesis, when God created the earth. And here on this humanities last exam, on the linguistics part here, you just happen to have Psalms 104:7. Is it mimicking of the creation of God's creation? Something for you to think about. So let's carry on to another segment in this video. And I will share this video in the comments. I will put it actually maybe in the description too. So we're going to go here to this next section.
Step into Wix Studio and handle every part of your build from one
commercial
platform.
That I am not
map out your project with an.
Okay, here we go.
There are no humans that can actually answer these, can get a good score. I mean, if you actually say, like, any given human what's the best that any human could score? I mean, I'd say maybe 5% optimistically.
Yeah.
So this is much harder than what any human can do. It's incredibly difficult, and you can see from the types of questions. Like, you might be incredible in linguistics or mathematics or chemistry or physics or any one of a number of subjects, but you're not going to be at a postgrad level in everything. And Grok 4 is a postgrad level in everything. Like, it's just some of these things are worth repeating. Like, Grok 4 is postgrad.
Okay, so all right, so what he's talking about is he's talking about that this is a postgraduate in every single PhD that you could possibly get. In every single PhD combined together simultaneously, this is what you're getting with this Grok 4. Is that like supposed to be like a god that's way superior than our intelligence? How are we going to function with this autonomous agentic AI that has, we can't even fathom or comprehend all of the data and knowledge that's there? That is something to think about. And this part is the part that I stopped. Coming up, the next part I'm going to show you. And then we'll conclude today's interlude, which is a very long interlude, but these are building blocks to your understanding and to your observation of what is actually happening. And I felt like it was important for all of this to be shared. All right, so let's go to, let's see here. The next time point is going to be, all right. Remember, we're thinking about choice of
An hypothesis and then confirm if that hypothesis is true or not. So we're really, I think about like where we are today. We're at the beginning of an immense intelligence explosion. We're in the intelligence Big Bang right now, and
so Big Bang. We're in the intelligence Big Bang. The Big Bang theory is the opposite of God. Is the opposite of God creating the earth. So there's these little nuances that are in the speech. If you are able to stop and hear it, then you can see and be prepared for some of these things that are coming to our world. So now, this last part is the part that I hope that a lot of people see, so they can have some insight into what this Grok is. So here we go, and who's originating it and what their thoughts are. But you have to be still, and you have to listen to people's words, and you have to look at how they react.
We're at the most interesting time to be alive of any time in history. Yeah. Now, that said, we need to make sure that the AI is a good AI, a good Grok. And the thing that I think is most important for AI safety, at least my biological neural net tells me, the most important thing for AI is to be maximally truth-seeking. So this is a very fundamental. Like, you can think of AI as this super genius child that ultimately will outsmart you, but you can still instill the right values.
So the values, he says, truthfulness and honorable. That's all he could come up with. And there is one other thing that I will share after this, and then we will conclude.
And encourage it to be sort of, truthful, honorable, good things, like the values you want to instill in a child.
So not a lot of details about this ethics, the parameters of AI, just honorable and truthful. It's so vague. It's like, what are the ethical and moral characteristics that need to be woven in? Well, it's obviously in this case, as far as the ones that are building these, that may not be of a concern to them. He was very vague about that. And then the last part here, let's see here. Okay. If you need
calling all inconsistent traders. If you've tried trading with alerts, AI algos, signals, and every indicator,
we will get to
obviously need to pay YouTube so I don't get ads when I'm sharing my screen. Okay, so if you need to take a break or get some water or whatever, this next part is the most profound part of this video. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting. So I'm going to take a little breather right now before I play this. Okay. Here we go, and I'll play this all the way through for the time periods that I wanted to. It's about 2 minutes, and then we'll talk about it.
Most of the way, like 80-90%, Kardashev 1, and then hopefully, if civilization doesn't self-annihilate, and then Kardashev 2, like it's the actual notion of a human economy.
So right now, it's like probably hard to understand. He's talking about energy, taking energy, from the earth and from other places to power things and to have a better civilization.
Assuming civilization continues to progress, will seem very quaint. In retrospect, it will seem like sort of cavemen throwing sticks into a fire level of economy compared to what the future will hold. I mean, it's very exciting. I mean, I've been at times kind of worried about like, well, is this seems like it's somewhat unnerving to have intelligence created that is far greater than our own, and will this be bad or good for humanity? It's like I think it'll be good. Most likely it'll be good. Yeah. But I somewhat reconciled myself to the fact that even if it wasn't going to be good, I'd at least like to be alive to see it happen. So.
Okay, so some of the words that he used was if civilization doesn't self-annihilate. Okay, so self-annihilate, wonder why that would be in there. I wonder why that would be in there. If civilization doesn't self-annihilate. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's look at what does that mean? Like, why would he bring that up? What does it mean, self-annihilation? The annihilation or obliteration of self, especially as a process of mystical contemplation, right? All right. And another word that they use in regards to this annihilation is immolation of self. Okay, about basically with that one is that it is a powerful, tragic expression, grievances, and of trying to attract attention to a cause. Now, if you look at this right here, What does self-annihilate mean? So here's that immolation. Here's this abnegation right here. And what does abnegation mean? The act of renouncing or rejecting something. So let's go. What I've had to do is to go to the dictionary, because you can change what Google can erase something. You can change the definition of something. So I have my handy dandy dictionary that I just got that I really like. So it will tell me what the definition of words were back a while back. And so Google cannot erase this. So let's see what the truth of this is for what he said. What does he mean, self-annihilate? Okay. So you've got self-annihilation. All right. So a loss of awareness of self, as in a mystical union with God. A loss of awareness of self. That is what it means. Okay. And when you talk about it as a mystical union with God, mystical is spiritually significant or symbolic, right? So spiritually significant loss of awareness of ourself. And if you go to abnegation, that definition is a giving up of the rights, a giving up of our rights. So you've got a giving up of your rights, a loss of yourself. So what is happening with this AI, and what will be happening with this AI? And is this predictive? Is this predictive that these words are being used, and if you're able to stop and decipher them? And that's why this AI manuscript back here that has the candle back there, right there, see? But that's why this AI manuscript is here, so that as God helps me orchestrate what to write and the things that will come to me, it will be in there, and hopefully it will be a light to God's people and help them observe and help us see the truths of with this AI. So odd to say if society does not self-annihilate, kind of odd to say that, right? For Elon to say that. And the very fact, the words that he's used for this creation that he's created, this the smartest AI in the world, worried and unnerving. So you've got terrified in some of the parts of this video that he self-identifies his own words to say what this AI is. Terrifying, worried, unnerving. And the worst part that I saw was, is this bad or good for humanity? And he says, I think it will be good. Well, you better know if it's going to be good or not, for you bring this beast that's a agentic AI, and it's like self-autonomous and has a consciousness. I think most likely, those are words that he's using. But this is what's most important before we end our broadcast. Even Elon Musk says, even if it was not going to be good, I'd at least like to be alive to see it happen. Even if it's not going to be good, I'd at least like to be alive to see it happen, to see what happened. self-annihilation of humanity. And what else is interesting? This, to me, with these, what are these? What is this laughing? Like, what is this chuckle about? If it's not good for humanity, and I will share that again so you can observe that yourself, and then we will conclude. This interlude, this long interlude. All right. It's about right there.
Even if it wasn't going to be good, I'd at least like to be alive to see it happen. So,
Don't know why that would be funny. So some interesting and some very odd things. Some interesting and some very odd things. All right. So that concludes this very jam-packed interlude. And it really has been helpful to me so I can write my second journal in here in this AI manuscript that for God's people, the skeleton of AI. So I will be writing in that, and I will read that to you when that comes out. As you know, there will be interludes like this as I find more things that need to be shared before the journal entry is done, and also maybe some micro logs. I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope that it's helped you. I'll see you soon with the next broadcast. Please let me know, share your thoughts. You can email me at ingrid@theaimanuscript.com. I'm very interested to hear what your thoughts are. I wish you peace and happiness. And always remember, nothing artificial can replace the beautiful miracle of being 100% God-made and 100% human. So I'll see you soon. And we will exit with some delightful music by Mozart. If it will play for me, we may have to go back to the countdown of the intro, so we'll do that.